I never thought I was going to talk about this
Okay, go ahead.
online, but okay. When I made this shift, I had the closest people to me being against what I was doing. And that was the hardest thing. A lot of it came from my childhood and from whatever happened.
Do you have an example of something that happened in the past and how you managed to change its influence?
Yeah, I'll give you an example actually.
Okay.
It was really just, I was blocked.
Did you feel it physically?
Yeah, physically.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound insane, but that was the link. And so I realized that, I just fixed it like that.
I feel like it's a good example for anyone who's in the situation that you were in 3-4 years ago to see that it actually had an outcome. So
Yeah.
you managed to actually get where you wanted.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not perfect, it's not the end destination, but
It'll never be the end.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. It's a constant process. But yeah, I'm in a much better place than like a year after that moment. I was in a much better place. A year after I was in a better place. A year after I was in a better place. And today I'm in a better place than all of those.
Yeah.
It takes time. Now there's a huge gap between 4 years ago and today. For me, it took 4 years to get here. For someone else, it might take 6 months. You never know. But it's worth trying. And it's worth putting a plan to it. You know, I made this plan of this is kind of the kind of life that I want. These are the steps. I didn't set any timeline to it. I didn't say I need to do this for 6 months, this for a year, this for... No, it was just, these are the steps I need to take. However long each takes, it's going to take, it can take 2 weeks, it can take 6 months, whatever it is. And I'm still in the middle of it, but much better than before. It's just about taking charge of your life. Most people don't live their lives.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it does take courage because
Yeah.
if you want to do stuff the way that you really want to do it, you will have to do things that are uncomfortable,
Very.
that are new, that maybe other people will tell you not to do. So it does take courage, but I think it's worth it in the end.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a very lonely journey. I think you know that, I know that. Just not what most people do.
Yeah.
Most people are just content and go on with how they're living. And so it's very lonely when you want to break out of that because most people won't understand the small things and the thoughts you have and the kind of everything. Yes, the questioning and kind of letting go of everything, you know, and restarting from scratch. That's something that most people wouldn't do. Be it me or you, we both did something for 5 years and then we just started from scratch.
You don't have the comfort of knowing that other people approve of your choice.
They don't approve. That's the big thing. That's why it's lonely, is because most people will be against you. And that's the lonely part. That's the hard part. For me, it's never about kind of people in general. Let's take the closest people to me. When I made this shift and when I kind of changed everything and I started from scratch, I had the closest people to me, let's say my sister, my father, kind of the people around me, telling me, no, you shouldn't, why are you doing this? Being against what I was doing. And that was the hardest thing for me, is being all the time, kind of being confronted by the people close to you. I'm like, I'm just trying to do my own thing. Like, just let me be. I don't want you, okay, support would be nice. But at least don't try to stop me, you know? Don't do anything, just let me be. You know, that's the hardest thing.
How did you deal with that and how did that evolve?
I shut it off completely.
Okay.
Completely. It also meant I had to shut off a lot of my emotions as well. Because it will make you feel some kind of way. Hearing that from the people close to you. That you're wrong, you shouldn't be doing this. But I took the kind of rational approach to shutting it off in the sense of these people have never tried what I'm doing. They don't know what I'm doing. They haven't had this experience. So they don't even know if it's the right or wrong thing to do because they don't know. They're just talking based on their own experience. So rationally that helped a bit. But emotionally I really had to kind of repress those emotions in a sense of... Because if you're emotional all the time because everyone's against you, you're not going to be able to do anything. It comes from a place of they care about you and they're afraid for you.
Yes, of course.
Like they don't want you to end up in a bad place, basically. So they don't want you to take disproportionate risks, like starting everything from scratch, which I understand, I get. And so when they start getting a bit reassured by, okay, they see results in what you're doing, then that kind of dies down. Now they're fully kind of 100% supportive of what I do. Everyone around me is. So yeah, but it took a while to get there.
Of course, and also because the people who love you and care about you, they want to know that you're going to be okay. They want to know, they want you to do the safe thing
100%.
for you to be okay. But sometimes the safe thing is not the
What you wanna
thing
do.
that you want to do. So yeah, it can be conflicting.
So that's a big part of what makes it lonely. Is most people around you won't be with it, you know. But then if you think of what's at play, it's the alternative of just living. Also, actually, we can get into this. It's even when I was doing aerospace, I wasn't living the life I wanted. I liked this and I was interested by this. But the reason I did aerospace at first, there's two things that contributed to it. One, I did this to fit people's image of me. So when I was a kid, when I was about 17, 16, 18, I knew that the image people had of me around me was, okay, he's a smart kid, he works well, he can achieve things, he can X, Y, Z. And so I thought to myself, okay, as someone who is smart and who should be very smart, let me look at the things that I can do in university, let's say. And I like tinkering, so a bit of engineering. And so I was like, what's the most out there and what seems the most complex and difficult thing that I can do? And I chose that. Also from culture as well. Space is a very interesting thing, and I used to watch space movies all the time and things like this. So that kind of played a part. But at no point did it come from me. The only thing I like to do was kind of tinker with things. That's it. And that could apply to anything. And so, but I didn't realize this, and I convinced myself that this was my passion. Like die hard passion, like go to space, die after an hour passion. I would do this, you know. And I was convinced of that for years. And then when I had this switch, I realized that in an instant, I didn't mind doing anything else. So I was like, okay, that's when I started thinking, how could this have been a passion of mine? And I just let it go in an instant. It wasn't really. I just convinced myself that the life that wasn't mine, I convinced myself to kind of love it in a sense.
Thinking about it, I feel maybe some people will feel this, that sometimes it can be a bit uncomfortable to look at these things. Yeah, did you feel this at the beginning?
Not really, because I told you I came from a place, what started it all was I really looked at everything and hated it. When you get to a point where you can hate kind of your own situation and the person you are, you don't feel uncomfortable looking at anything within anymore, in a sense. Because I've been through this. I know I saw myself not confident. I saw myself not being able to do things. I saw myself not being able to build connections with people, not being able to approach people, kind of on that aspect. That's the thing that most people don't like to look at, for example. If you're someone that's not really comfortable talking to people, or you're not outgoing, or you have trouble connecting with people, a lot of people kind of label it as I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, or kind of, those two, or I've even heard like I'm an extroverted introvert, kind of whatever kind of label people give it. But labeling it is just the easy way out, because then you say that's me and it's never going to change. I mean, it can change because it's your behavior, it's how you act. You can change this. There's no such thing as defining yourself as an introvert, because the second you do that, you will not consciously and unconsciously, you're not going to be an outgoing person, or you're not going to meet people, you're not going to talk to people, because you've classified yourself as this. Ultimately, you decide who you are in your head.
I feel like labels become limiting the moment you get rigid on them. Because they can change.
Exactly. Like with anxiety, I have friends that also tell me this. Like, I'm an anxious person, I have anxiety. And I'm like, yes, because you say this and you believe yourself that you're an anxious person. And for them, because they believe it, it makes them more comfortable that other people feel this way. But at the same time, it makes it so that they identify with this to the point of, when they don't feel anxious, they feel weird. Like there's something not normal when they don't have anxiety. So it automatically triggers it in them again. It makes them anxious not having anxiety, is what I'm saying. I've seen this a lot. You have to remove that label to get kind of ahead of it,
And not be attached to it.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, and you have to be comfortable enough to kind of, like I said, admit these things to yourself. That I have anxiety, and it's not something I have that people have, and so it's a normal thing. No, it's something I have and that I am causing to myself, because no one else is causing the anxiety for you. Everyone has external circumstances and react differently to them. It's not the external circumstance that causes the anxiety. It's you within you. But people don't want to tell themselves, it's my fault. But that's where it should start to be able to change it. So.
Yes, and I think, like you said, it's your responsibility that you're doing it. And sometimes, of course, in your past, some things happened that made you act this way. And it doesn't mean that you have to blame yourself. It's just on the opposite, saying that, okay, I have been doing this. It's okay that I have been doing this because X, Y, Z happened.
And I can change it.
But now that I can actually see it, I can change it.
100%.
And I can do things to change it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything, how we are and everything kind of, specifically when you kind of get out of the teens, the early 20s, you're just a sum of everything that's happened to you or that you've gone through, basically. Which is very normal, because as kids you have nothing else. You don't know how to look for new things or learn new things or be on your own. You're just constantly in an environment that's imprinting on you. And that's normal. Obviously that's where it starts from. Like even for me, I went into, so I did NLP for a while. That was like 4 years ago, and I was doing.
Can you explain?
Yeah, so NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It's a sort of behavioral psychology, and I started doing that when I was halfway through university. My mom did that kind of when I was in school, and she was studying this and practicing this for a few years. And so I was like, I want to do this. It was for specific reasons, and it made me realize, yes, everything has a root. Like, for example, I know that I had something where I had a lack of confidence in a specific situation, that I then was able to trace back to, it's because this thing happened to me when I was like 9 or 10 or something. That's true. You can find links for everything. But am I going to keep living my life as a victim of my past, or am I just going to live my own life? That's the big shift that you have to make. Is yes, traumatizing things happened to me, this happened to me, that happened to me. Everyone has their problems. I'm not comparing worse or better or whatever, but how long do you want to keep living as a victim of that is the question. Some people do it for their whole lives. Some people never live their own life. It's just the life that their parents gave them, in a sense, or their environment gave them, which is, for me, a pretty sad life to live, because you can do whatever you want. It's your own life. Why give it to someone else? So yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like it's related to the conversation also we had the other time, that the past exists in the way that you put it in the present. So because the past is also the way you see it in the present, then you can change the way you see it now to change now and in the future. Does it make sense?
No, not really.
I mean,
try again.
What happened in the past exists in the past, but what's important is how it affects you in the present. So you cannot change the fact that it happened. You can change the fact that now
how
it's
it
affecting you in this way for now and for after.
100%. I had a lot of things that everything I said earlier about how I was, and I didn't like how I was. Obviously, a lot of it came from my childhood and from whatever happened.
Do you have an example of something that you realized was a consequence of something that happened in the past, and how you managed to change its influence?
Yeah, I'll give you an example, actually.
Okay.
This is a pretty deep one. I never thought I was going to talk about this online, but okay. So I had this issue at one point, and that when I was doing kind of the NLP I mentioned, I realized I had this issue one summer of I couldn't approach women. I had this kind of block. It was very weird because up until the point where there's a whole thing that goes on before approaching a woman, X, Y, Z, and then you get to the point where you kind of get there and okay, now I'll approach her. I had a block there. Like I felt blocked. Like no, I had instances where I'd be kind of, I don't know, it'd be obvious that I was interested in a girl and she was interested in me, and we'd spend like half an hour on the dance floor right in front of each other, but I just didn't move. And I had a block, and I noticed this. And it wasn't I noticed it. Why? Because it was a complete block. It wasn't a lack of confidence or something like this. It was really just I was blocked.
Did you feel it physically?
Yeah, physically. Yeah. Physically, kind of, as in I'm not moving, you know? And so I noticed this because it happened like 2-3 times in a row. I'd never noticed it before. And it happened 2-3 times in a row, and I noticed it. I went to talk about it, and I did kind of an NLP exercise on it with my teacher at the time. And this came from, it was a long process. The exercise took a few hours, but it got to, I realized that it was at a point, it came from when I was about 8 years old. And I was, it's going to sound insane, but that was the link. Is I was 8 years old. I was, my sister was crying about something, and I vividly remembered the scene, and still to this day, after realizing there was this, I remember going to talk about it with my dad, and he was like, you have to be strong for her, and you have to care for her, in a sense, and not show kind of that you're feeling the same way. And being a little 8-year-old that didn't understand how life worked, I realized that it translated into most women in my life, and the women that come into my life, I will have to kind of care for, and they will be my responsibility. And it was something that I didn't want, obviously, because it was just some random girl like in a club. But yeah, because the thing is, like that belief was installed by an 8-year-old in my head, subconsciously. And it remained there until I was like in my early 20s, something an 8-year-old thought. It's a crazy thing. Yeah. And so I realized that. And once I realized that, I kind of changed this belief of not that, it's not true. Like, these are kind of the silly stuff. As soon as you realize them, you tell yourself like, no, this is not true at all. Consciously, I know it's not true. What am I doing? How do I even think this? And so, yeah, telling myself it wasn't true, and actually thinking, no, I can approach anyone and do anything, and no one's my responsibility. Everyone's living their own life. It just shifted it. Just changing realizing the belief was there, being able to kind of change it to something else, that everyone's living their own life. No one's responsible for anyone. It just fixed it like that.
Okay.
Like, as soon as the belief changed, as I saw it and it changed, next time I went out, that problem was gone. I never felt this again.
It's crazy how things from a long time, and also because you also had a relationship before and after that and everything, but still it's stuck in your in your mind, and it showed up again. Yeah, it's crazy. And okay, so you you realized that this was a belief, and you kind of debated it and realized that it's not true, and replaced it with something else that was true, and that helped you. Was it easier to change this belief?
There's two parts of it. Yes, it was easy, this one, because it was so silly. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So that part was a bit easy, but then it's just a habit that you have. It's a belief that I'd had for, at that point, at least 10 years imprinted on me. So, but it wasn't that hard, because I knew it was silly, and I knew what I wanted, kind of what it should be, in a sense. So that process was not as difficult. What was difficult is getting to what was blocking me in the first place. That's the much longer process. Is what is blocking me from like really being paralyzed, you know? That took a long time, but then once we got to it, and it's uncomfortable, obviously, because that's something that you repress, that I had never thought I even had this belief. And so you repress that really deeply, And even the memory, I'd never thought about it until that point, where we got to it. The process, I don't even remember what the process was of the exercise. But yeah, it was a while ago. But yeah, there are methods and there are exercises, and I think specifically in NLP that really help with these things and how to identify and change beliefs. That's the whole point of it, basically.
Yeah.
And
I want
so
to do a small self-promotion.
I was going to do that, Sarah.
I'll let you do it.
So if anyone is looking for this, Camille gives NLP sessions to anyone who wants to change anything, basically.
Yes.
Like the example, as silly as I just gave, is something you can change, or you can work on a million different other things. It helped me a lot. I had basically in my life kind of, I'd say 2 mentors in my adult life. Funnily enough, they were both online. I never met them in person. Yeah. But the first one was my NLP teacher. She helped me a lot. And she opened my mind to my own psychology and my own kind of behaviors and beliefs in life. That was kind of, I think, the first step that led into the second one. Because at first you need to understand how kind of your brain works. That's, I think, is really important for anyone to know. And then once I understood that, she really helped me change a lot of things and taught me ways of changing things. Then after that is when I was in Paris and I started learning. I went back, I was learning about kind of money, businesses and all that. But at the same time, I was recommended by a friend to my second mentor, who is... understands all of these things and teaches everything about money and all that, but at the core is a behavioral analyst. He's kind of amazing at this, at behavioral psychology, and that kind of the first one prepared me for this one. I wouldn't have been ready in a sense. And that taught me so much about kind of behavior, my own behaviors, people's behaviors, why they act the way they act, kind of just about life. It changed my life. This is something I would highly recommend, is kind of having someone to teach you things. And it doesn't have to be, most people will tell you, I've told this to people and they're like, yes, but I don't know anyone, I don't have anyone, my 2 mentors were online, I never met them in my life. Like you can, nowadays with the technology we have, what we were discussing in the beginning with the internet, it changed my life. Yes. Because I was able to meet these 2 people and learn from them.
And I think that also it doesn't have to be direct mentors, in the sense that also with, for example, through books, through documentaries, movies, podcasts, you can have access to someone's way of thinking, to someone's knowledge without actually interacting with them. For me, books played a big part in self-development, in learning new things, and and just developing myself.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the first one was kind of one-on-one. The second one was some one-on-one time, but a lot of online videos, a lot of kind of blogs and things like this. That's where most of the knowledge came from. It wasn't from one-on-one interaction. So yeah, it's definitely something. And just learning from other people's experiences.
Yes.
That's something kind of, it's great because it accelerates your learning. Because yes, you can learn something, kind of, I don't know, make 10 mistakes along as you learn it, but why not learn from other people's mistakes and not do the 10, do 5 of them. It accelerates it in a sense.
And I feel like this is something also that you can use with anything, that if you are in a situation that you don't like, or you feel like you're not able to do something, or you don't like something that you're doing, finding someone who is doing what you want to do, or who is acting 100%. In the way that you want, and figuring out how this person is thinking about it, what are they doing, how are they seeing it, it's always something that you can use.
Yeah, and since we have the internet, 1, and 2, nowadays there's this big kind of growth strategy in social media, which is giving value for free and content and explaining things. And so you really have a tremendous amount of information that you can use, just freely available online, without having to pay for anything. One key thing I'd say about that is a discussion I had with someone about anxiety, and that person was telling me, yes, she tried looking for people online who have this. My key piece of advice for this was look for people who had this and overcame it. Don't look for people who are in the same place as you, because that's just, again, looking for comfort and telling yourself, yes, other people feel this, but they won't have a solution because they're still there as well. That's the key thing
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Yes, and also there are different people. So maybe someone overcame it in a way that doesn't relate, like doesn't resonate with you, but someone else will resonate. So it's always also trying
100%.
and
Yeah.
keeping an open mind. And for me, the best thing is always books. Like I know not everyone likes to read, but I feel like books. Someone took the time to actually structure everything and put everything that they know in a way that you will understand it and you will be able to follow it. So for me, this is the best way. But of course, there are many podcasts.
Yeah, no, books are great. I read books a little bit every day. It takes me like 3-4 months to finish a book because I really I read 10 pages and I spend time thinking about it, and that's what I do every day. But it depends on your... It also depends on your attention span in a sense and what you want to, if you want to go through a whole book or if you'd like a 10-minute video or a nowadays 60-second video on TikTok or Instagram. There's many different formats you can learn. I learned, a lot of things about AI, for example, when I was learning and kind of using all of this, yes, through practice, but also through Twitter. Twitter is very limited in how much you can write, and so you get the information straight up. Learning is not through only a diploma or a certification or a class, or it's like we said, you can learn through anything. Go out in the street and you can learn things. I try as much as I can to, so let's say I'll go very concrete in this. On my phone I have social media apps, right? I'll give you an example. I have Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. The thing is, when you take your phone, you can open any of the three or any one you prefer. Sometimes I take my phone because I want to just watch some stupid shit, just waste some time, basically. Sometimes I take my phone. It's a reflex at this point to pick up your phone and look at something. And so, for example, my Twitter is the algorithm, because I've looked at so much stuff that are AI related or stocks related or kind of a few things that interest me. That's all I see on Twitter. So instead of opening it up and opening any other app to waste some time, automatically I'm learning things. My Instagram, I've tried to limit it, to use it only to keep kind of in touch with people and be connected with people. At some point I was hooked to kind of reels and things like this, and I didn't like that, so I deleted it for a while to just remove that habit and replaced it with Twitter. So I learn in my downtime when I just pick up my phone to look at some stuff, I might learn a thing or two. And I do that all day long. And then I've just kept the stupid stuff on Snapchat, which people are going to find very weird because no one uses Snapchat. Yes, I know. But they have these kind of shows, series, whatever you want to call it, in one of the tabs where you can just watch some stuff. And so I keep the kind of dumbed down things on that application specifically. So that it doesn't get my other applications don't get contaminated and I still get the benefit.
Okay, so you separated things for fun and things for learning, and you tailored kind of your social media
100%.
app for this because it's a habit that you already have to pick up your phone and go on your phone.
And algorithms are tailored to you. Yes. As much as people want to say, yes, the algorithm is showing me stupid things all day long and I'm wasting my time, it's showing you this because you're looking at it. Like it's tailored to reflect what you want to see. And so I force myself, like when I'm on Twitter, sometimes it will come into my feed like a stupid video of, for example, at some point there was on Twitter videos of fights just being promoted to people through that algorithm. Every time I saw one of these, you have a button on all of them. You have this option of, I don't want to see this content is not relevant to me. And so constantly doing that removes all of that from your feed.
Okay. And I think it's smart that you separated Twitter and Snapchat because sometimes you don't want to make the effort
100%.
To skip the dumb stuff.
Exactly. So at night, for example, when I'm just sat down in bed and I want to look at something stupid before going to sleep, I open Snapchat and I look at it. Or even, let's say, after lunch, I want to have 10-15 minutes of downtime before getting back to work, I open that. It's made for that. And so it makes it much more manageable.
Also, I feel like when you have these phases of extreme change or intense questioning, your vision of life can also change, maybe the meaning that you attribute to life. So for you, did you feel this, and did you feel this?
Yeah, for me, to be honest, I'd never really thought before that time, I'd never really thought about, okay, what is life? What do I want out of life? You know, okay, I want to live this type of life, I want these things, but what's the point of it? I'd never thought about this, and now I see it as it's a game. Like it's like any video game I've played, right? Really, the kind of the parallels you can draw between gaming and simulations and the real world are everywhere, basically. Um, so it's a game. It's about trying things in a game. I approach it like I would a game. What do I want to do to have fun in a game, to enjoy my time in the game? And how you can measure that, ultimately, what I think today, and this took a while to kind of set in as a vision of the world for me, is ultimately the only thing you truly have in this life, have as in what you experience is your emotions as an experience. There's nothing else. It's all external anyway. You can have done this, that, the other, but it's about how it made you feel as you were doing it, how you experienced it. So trying to focus on those, that's why a big focus of mine was also, I want to be able to do what I want to do because it will make me feel good internally and I can have a better experience of life as a whole. Because living a life where you're not happy half the time, you know, like I said, I'd rather not play the game. For personally, when I play a game and I'm bored, I just don't play the game anymore. I turn it off and I stop, you know. I go to another game. And so it was that. Thinking about it now, if you want to draw the parallel as well, I didn't like the game I was playing, the life I had and the person I was, so I literally went to another game. It's that equivalent that I did in the shift that I did in my life.
Yeah.
This is not the game I want to play, this is the game I want to play. So yeah, because there's nothing else.
Yeah.
We don't know, as much as people are going to tell you, yes, there's this and that and afterlife and before, and there's a million theories about spirituality and religion and but no one knows anything. So I have this time, might as well make it enjoyable for me.
Yeah, and I feel like this vision makes you less attached to what
To
happens
things, yeah.
and to yourself. Like take yourself less seriously.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Like it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all fine. It's just a game. Test it out, try it out, learn the rules. That should have been number one, you know. And that's the first thing that no one teaches you in school or in any education system, is how the world works, you know. If you don't know the rules, how were you meant to play? If I brought you to play, I don't know, chess, we put down a chessboard now and you don't know the rules, you'll never be able to play in a million years. I'll beat you every single time for a million years. It's the same thing.
And when you say learning about how the world works, what do you mean exactly?
Very practically, in a practical manner, how the world works. First, number one thing, if we're all being realistic, as much as most people don't like it, money runs the world. That's number one thing. I was like that when I was a kid. Me and my friends at some point, when we were finishing school, I mean, we're like, fuck the system, what's this shit, money and corporate and no, we don't want to be this, we want to live this carefree life of Rasta or whatever it is, you know. You can do that, but you'll never be able to even play the game if you don't know the rules of it. The game is bigger than you, ultimately. You have two options. Either you get out of it. I could go live on an island and just live my life the way I want to. That's very valid. But there's the other kind of part of learning how it works. So step one, it starts with money. Because money is what gives you freedom, in a sense. Freedom of mobility, safety, security, kind of all of that. It's all tied to that. Whether you like it or not. That's how it's set up. So that's why, for example, one of the first things I learned when I made this, I wanted to learn about was this. Is, okay, the world revolves around this, and this is what makes the world work, and I don't understand it. So I need to know this first. How does money move from one person to another, from one place to another? Why do people buy and sell things? What is money? What can it be used for? What can you do with it? Kind of all of it, all the dynamics of it. And which also helps you in, okay, so I want to have freedom, to have security, I need to have money. How can I get money? That's one. Then for me, there's two things that run the world. There's money and people, basically. There's nothing else. And whatever world we live in, until we get to a world where there's AI overlord and robots and things, two things run the world, people and money. So that's why I studied money and people, behavioral psychology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not
No, it goes into that.
politics, yeah.
Same thing. It's all behaviors anyway. So yeah, I wanted to really understand these two things first. Once you start understanding them, okay, how can I use the rules to my advantage?
I will put also your company details in case anyone is interested, and also for your second mentor, the one you mentioned the name of. If anyone is interested, can they contact you?
They can Google. There's two people. I'll give you the first one as well. NLP for NLP. Her name is Lynn Conwell. She's adorable. She's a lady that lives in the States and really, really like top woman. And the second one, both of them you can Google, I think. And the second one is Casonomics. The forward thing is, the main thing is going to be kind of trading and money and investing and all of that. But everything else that comes with it that you wouldn't expect to come with that, about life and psychology and all of it, highly recommended. Like, they both changed my life completely. From the moment I met them to who I am today, each of them kind of really, if it was going like this, one do this and then the other even more, you know. So yeah, that's why also I recommend mentors.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, really. And one thing, I'm finished with this, but one thing that I really like about you, like I admire about you, and I actually say that when I speak to people, is that I feel like you have the scientific, logical intelligence that people have, but you also have like emotional and life intelligence, and the mix of those is
Thank you.
great.
I really appreciate that.